And we are live with Sam Samworth. This is Across the Pond once again for this week of Monday, April 6th, 2020. Talking COVID, talking Strangeways, and Mr. Samworth's experience in prison as well. Super informal. Sam, how are you doing?
Good, Mr. Addy Ads. Thank you.
That's awesome. That's great. It's been a couple days since we chatted last, Sam.
Yeah.
But any huge updates as far as the political
Um.
situation right now?
I've had a very thoughtful day. It's getting very real now. Um. I've got friends who work in a couple of prisons who are quite unwell now. They're at home, self-isolating. They're at home with their families. Um. One of them's got 3 young kids.
And he's
They have
sick.
been.
He got corona.
He, he it will be. Look, it will be, mate. He's got the cough. He's got a fever. Um. Feels terrible, but he's got 3 young kids, so he's trying to distance himself. They've got a small bedroom. He's pretty much shut himself in there. He hasn't been tested. He asked whether he could be tested. I don't think they're still testing prison officers. Before we get into a point of slagging people off for testing, like there's a lot of criticism in this country that we haven't done enough testing. There's all sorts of people want testing. You know, you don't want to lose all your police force. You don't want to lose your prison officers. You don't want to lose your nurses. You don't want to use the lads and lasses who work in supermarkets on tills. You don't want to lose your carers. You know, everyone, all these frontline people now who people probably never thought of as people that were needed in a time like this. You can't test everybody. So I don't know what's happening on that front. Obviously, you know, my mate said it come on quite quick over a couple of days. He phoned his manager at work and said, "Look, I'm feeling rough. It after a weekend off." So this is last Sunday he's speaking to his manager. It's his weekend off, and his manager, are you ready for this? Said, "Well, come in for a few days and see how you feel. If you still feel rough, then take some time out."
Yeah.
Come on, man. Is that
Yeah.
real?
I think that
So
applies in, not this situation, right? For normal cold, it would apply, right?
it is very difficult. There will be people who blag, there always is, but you know, forget them. That's a small amount of population. So that's 2 mates at 2 jails, and like I say, one of them, very young family, is finding it very difficult because obviously he don't want to give his family it, and it's looking like he has got it. Um,
And your
Up to
mate's an
now,
officer as well?
yeah, he was an officer, yeah. Um, you know, he says he does feel awful. I've said if you need anything, you know, I can always drop it off or whatever. Um, he's not been to the doctors. He's phoned his doctor and taken some advice because he's got some ongoing health issues. So his doctor really does. Doctors got bad to him, and they've given him another number to phone if he gets any worse. Not the we have an NHS number. I think it's 111, where normally every day in life, you know, if you got something going on, you can phone that line, get through, give people symptoms, and they can give you advice or advise you. Obviously, that now is rammed with people phoning up. So there's
Definitely.
them 2 lads, neither have been tested, but like I say, they've probably got limited testing kits, so you know they're going to be testing prisoners. It's not a criticism of anyone; it's just an unfortunate situation.
It is, yeah, definitely. And you mentioned last time, Sam, it might have been the time before that actually, how HMP Thameside, which is where Pepsi Watson was at before, was a private prison. Could you just
Yeah.
explain to people listening what is the difference in England between a private prison and a public prison?
Right. a lot of prisons in America are private, so they're for profit. Obviously, a private prison, it's run like a business.
Okay.
If I take Forest Bank where I worked, yeah, I think that building, it was up in 3 months, 3 months to put the jail together. It come in big pieces like a jigsaw, which isn't a long time to put something up as big as that. It cost 55 million or 65, one or the other, I'm not sure, to build. And I know inside 3 years, the company that ran that, Sodexo, yeah, were turning a profit. It had paid for itself.
In 3 years.
So what happens with a private prison? When they recruit prison officers, it is the same job. The public sector in this country are well established. You know, we've got Victorian jails like Strangeways from 1880 odd. So the public sector prison system's been around a long time. People have moved around. It was a good job. It was well paid, good pension. So you had a lot of experience. Every new prison that opens starts pretty much with 90% of the staff are new. Prisoners, they're just on it straight away. You know,
Yeah, you said in your BBC article you did a couple of years ago, they can sense fear.
of course they can. They can sense fear, and they will get in people's faces, and they will intimidate them, and they talk about conditioning people. Do you know what? It's not about conditioning. It's about how they manipulate people. And, you know, conditioning it, people go on and on and on. It's manipulation. It's pure and simple. It's manipulation. If they see someone's frightened and they're up to no good on the wing, they'll just stare at them. You know, you'll get officers that'll be fearful of going down one end of a wing or whatever. I've seen it. When I started in private sector, I will tell you now, first 12 months, mate, I lived on adrenaline.
Yeah.
You know, I saw my ass quite a few times. It is very, very difficult. If you haven't done the job, you know, these people who talk about it, I tell you what, you get a big lad, a big physically powerful lad with a mouth on him, you know, thinks he's everybody, they will destroy him. I've seen
That's
it.
the worst combination in prison, isn't it? A big guy who also is talking too much.
You know, it's nice to have some big guys around, but you almost have to be a bit humble. You know, if somebody's like, you know, big and throwing the weight around, the prisoners, you know, 86 prisoners on a wing when I were there, they will just get on the case and they will just chip away, and within a week they'll be like a mouse because everyone will be in the face. You know, it's not.
Sean said that big guys actually have the worst mortality rate.
Big prisoners. Oh, I have seen some destroyed, mate. Well, I'll tell you a little story, then we'll get back to the private public sector.
Definitely.
When I worked at Forest Bank, we had young offenders. There's various names for them, but basically the lads and the age group was 18 to 21.
And you said that they are, in your book, you said they're a nightmare population. Why is that?
They are. They were fighting on that wing. They were on B1 when I was there. Used to be 3 staff. They were fighting every day. Some days they were just tension all day. You're just looking, waiting for it to kick off. Yeah. So what they decided they'd do is take all them prisoners and mix them up on the other wings. I mean, we had 12 wings there. So one of them was remand young offenders, and we had one that was enhanced, like the better behaved. Oh, and we had A wing as well. Sorry. So we had A wing. So we had 4 wings that were full of young offenders, and another 8 wings full of adults, which is 21 plus. So they decided to mix the prisoners up. Their thinking was get the adult prisoners, get the youngsters, you know, they sort of mentor them and keep them quiet. What happened was that the youngsters bullied the older ones. So on F wing, where I worked before I left, we had a big drug dealer from Salford. He got a big reputation. He was a big lad, brick shithouse, you know, 22-inch arms, 6'2", and he could fight as well. He was a scrapper. Anyway, he was bullying people, taking the prison canteen off him.
Oh my
So
gosh.
3 lads I knew, who were 19, 20, 21. Yeah, they were friends on the out. One morning, I've opened this guy's cell, and what had happened in the morning, you'd have two officers, one would go upstairs, two landings, they'd open all the cells all the way around, and I went round and opened all the cells here. By the time I got to the end, I knew I could tell something were wrong. You've got all prisoners sort of hanging about around his cell and that. So I walked swiftly down. What they did is I've opened up and gone to the next cell. They've gone straight in while he's still in bed, and they battered him. They had socks or pillowcases with, everyone always goes on about tins of tuna, whatever they got in them. Yeah, the three of them have battered him before he's got out of bed. What a mess. His face was just out here, big cuts everywhere. Every single bit of his body, I think, had broken ribs. They made a right mess of him. So it don't matter how big you are or your reputation, and they were 18, 19, 20, or 19, 20, 21-year-olds, them three lads. I got on with them. They were a good laugh. They were funny lads, yeah? But, you know, he'd been taking the piss out of them, bullying them. Bam, that's him. Game over. So back to private sector. So when I started, there was 86 on a wing and you had 2 staff. So they're not very good odds, them, are they?
No, not a good ratio.
The wages, you started on 18,000, progressing over, I think it was 2 or 3 years, to 22,000. So I don't know what that equates to dollars. So that's probably, I don't know, $20,000 to 25, something like that.
That's accurate.
In the public sector, you had to build up to it, but you ended up on, it was over 10 years initially and then 5. You ended up on 29,000. So you're earning another 7,000, another $9,000, but you got a good pension. And the thing about public sector, when I went to Strangeways, there were loads of experience. Yeah. So a good jail, when prisoners talk about, you know, a jail being on lockdown, a good jail, they don't mean they're all brick shithouses walking about. They mean, you know, good staff, experienced staff, and you've got a good regime. Because all prisoners want to know is they want to know what's happening. They want to know what they're doing. They want to know what's coming. They need a routine. So
they want to know what to expect.
Yeah. So when I started at that private prison, they used to get paid by the government for every bed, not people in them. It's important, this. They used to get paid for every bed. So if they could hold 1,200 prisoners and they only had 1,000, they would still get paid for 1,200. Yeah. So they turned over a big profit.
Is that still the case, Sam, or have they changed that?
No, now it is bums on seats now. They don't get paid, but there is no empty beds either.
Yeah.
So there was a lot less staff, yeah, in the private jail. You always start with new staff, so there's no experience. It was lower wages, and it was for profit. That company were in it to make a profit, which is wrong.
Yeah, that's just almost fundamentally wrong, I would say. I think all prisons should be public, public.
Exactly. Well, they shouldn't be for profit, should they?
Right. Yeah, that's
even
what I meant to say.
Private sector, but they shouldn't be making massive amounts of money.
Yeah.
The thing about Forest Bank and Strangeways, they held at one time similar amounts, like 1,100-1,200 prisoners. Strangeways covered a massive area. Yeah. Old Victorian building, 2 jails, one at top of hill, one at bottom. The kitchens and the workshops were over a road. If you looked down on Google Earth, I don't know whether you can look at jails on Google Earth, perhaps not.
Yeah, I can pull it up.
If you looked at it, it covered a big area. At Forest Bank, same amount of prisoners, very compact prison, modern prison. If you'd put Strangeways prisoners in Forest Bank and Strangeways staff, it'd have been sweet. You know, dead easy to move prisoners. The logistics, the design was far superior. And it was built compact because they were building it when they come to build a prison, the people of Salford weren't happy that they were building a prison. So they made it as compact as possible. They built it in a country park, but what they did, they also landscaped the area. So they made it a beauty spot. You know, they put cycle paths in and built bridges over the river and things like that.
Oh, wow.
So basically, less staff, less wages, no experience. Now, public and private sector, they're on the same money, about 22 grand, same staffing ratios, so that they're both in the same shit, really. They're both struggling to recruit, they're both struggling to retain staff, and
you said numbers are dropping, Sam?
Say that again, mate.
You said numbers seem to be dropping every year for staff. Is that correct?
Yeah, they brought in various budget cuts, really, which has meant there's been less staff around in prison in general, which is shocking. I think the numbers are something like, on a landing with prisoners, 33-1. So at Strangeways, if you've got 180 prisoners, that's 6 staff. Private sector's the same now, I believe. But high security jails, I think the staffing level is 25-1. But whatever way you look at it, you know, it's not really good odds. So that's the basic. It's almost a level playing field. And if we look at the latest, let's do them little quotation marks, Supermax that was built in Wrexham in Wales, HMP Berwyn, that's a public sector prison, yeah? It's brand new. They can't staff it, and it's not full because they can't get enough staff. And they've got horrendous problems, violence, drugs, and everything else. And that's a brand new prison. So
in Wales, you said. And here is the Google Earth of HMP Manchester, aka HMP Strangeways. This is across the pond with Addie Ads and Sam Samworth, former prison guard, former prison officer at HMP Strangeways, Her Majesty's Prison, Manchester. And here is that aerial view.
You've got the prison, and as you're looking at it now, to the right, that area is all the workshops and the gym and everything.
Okay.
So you've got the Star, yeah? Yep. And if you look now, there's a road. As you're looking now, I'm sure you get the same view as me. To the right, there's a road. And across that road, that's where all the workshops and everything are. There's a bridge from one side over that road to the other. That's it.
Yeah, here's the bridge, right?
The actual area it covers, it's a massive area, yeah? Can you see the AstroTurf, the green football pitch?
Yep.
To the right. So it's all that area. That's all the jail there as well.
Wow, that is a very large complex.
Correct.
What is the maximum capacity? Do you know, Sam? What's the maximum number of prisoners?
About 1,200. 1,200. It might be a bit less, but round about 1,200.
Okay, and this is in Manchester.
Yeah, that's in the town centre, that, mate.
Wow.
So that's your basic difference.
Excellent. And I remember I was listening to the audiobook, as I said earlier this morning, and just talking about how prisoners can sense fear. There was a quote you have where one prisoner was saying, "You shitting yourself yet, boss?"
Exactly.
Something to that effect.
He did when I started.
Yeah.
Did you see it? They can tell straight away. You know, they'll just come up in your face. Some are friendly, some not so friendly.
And I was listening to it. You were telling a story about, I can't recall his name, but it was towards the beginning of the book, and a female guard said something to the effect of, "You're obnoxious," and he said, "What does that mean?" And you said,
"Oh, I know exactly where you are."
Do you want to go into that, Sam?
Yeah, he's a lad. He was not a nice lad. His name was Neil, and if I tell you what he was in for first, he was road rage incident. He was a Liverpool lad, what we call a scouse. and an old guy and woman in a car cut him up. Yeah. So he basically forced them off the road, dragged the old guy out of the car, and had a good go at cutting his arm off with a machete. He might as well have done for the damage he did. And then he dragged the old lady out, at which point the public sort of all jumped on him and subdued him. So this guy, Neil, yeah, he was very over familiar with female staff. So he was supposed to be no female contact. He was that dangerous. And on this particular day, he was also on a 4-officer unlock, a senior officer, so that's 5 staff, and a Oscar 1, which is the prison manager. So to unlock him, there should be 6 staff present. And on this day, there was myself, 3 female officers, a female SO, and a female Oscar 1, a manager. So 5 females and me. So I said to the manager, and I weren't being rude, I said, do you not think you should swap some of your staff for male staff? She said to me that I was sexist and chauvinist. So I says, okay, fair enough.
This is your boss, essentially, at this time.
Yeah, this is my boss. So I said, fair enough. So I went to his cell first to unlock it. I said, Neil, would you like a shower? Yes, please. I said, are you going to behave yourself? He says, yes, I am. So I unlocked him. He came straight out. He went over to the female manager and he put his arm round her. Hello, love, or some such thing. And she didn't know what to do. And she's looking at me, get him off, get him off. So I'm trying to engage him and looking at him. And, you know, he was enjoying it, his 5 female staff. They were all very nervous. So anyway, we managed to get him in the shower. So in the shower at that time, I can't remember. We didn't have a full curtain. You could see people in the shower. Maybe there was I think there might have been a screen. I can't remember exactly. So you couldn't see the bottom half, but you could see them showering to make sure they were up to no good. So when he's in the shower, this female manager who was super inexperienced, she'd been made a manager, shall we say, to fill a sort of quota.
Yeah, I think we understand that.
Sort of diversity type thing, right, without going into it in too great detail.
Yeah, if you live in the US or the UK, we know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. So that's the reasoning. So, you know, I'm basically stood between him and the other staff, and she said to him, she actually asked him what he was in for. Right, basics in prison. Don't ask anyone what they're in for, you know. Or if you've got good prisoner knowledge, you might be talking about their crime that used to happen sometimes. You know, when I was on the healthcare with the orderlies and you get to know them really well, you know, you might be talking about it. You talk about things. But this wasn't the situation. She didn't know him. So she said, what are you in for? So
and to you, that is a no-no unless you have a unique relationship with that particular prisoner.
Dynamic security again, staff-prisoner relationships. Now, I knew this guy. I knew what he was like, which is why I wanted more male staff there. He was also an handful.
What does that mean, Sam?
What he was in for.
Oh, a handful.
Yeah. Okay, you know, it was...
I got you. I misheard
you.
It
was difficult. It was very difficult to manage. He put you on edge. You know, because of how he was. Anyway, she asked him what he was in for. He says, I cut an old fella's, a pensioner's arm off or something, some such words. At which point she called him obnoxious. You know.
That's a euphemistic way to put it.
Well, it is, yeah. You know, she was quite polite. So he said to me, what's obnoxious mean? So I said, it means you're an horrible bastard or some such words. At which point he came out of the shower, and he was going for her.
Yeah.
So we ended up, were you asking me about prisoners greasing up?
Yeah,
No.
I think it was 2 episodes ago. We were talking
Right,
about
okay.
Bronson and we were talking about Danny G.
Right, so this guy's naked. He's having a shower. He's covered in soap. He was like an eel, very slippy, but it was also dangerous. So struggle ensued. The manager actually went to the office to get out of the way, but did not press an alarm bell. We have an alarm bell. That situation, any sort of restraint, a fight or anything like that, you hit alarm bell and the troops come running, yeah? She didn't do that.
Do you think she should have?
Of course, yeah. First thing she should have do, but she just removed herself from the situation. 2 of the lasses got injured. You know, it can't have been pleasant anyway. He was naked. He got his, his man parts wafting about and stuff. Anyway.
Were they hurt badly, Sam? The officers?
They were pretty shooken up. Somebody pressed a bell. The troops come, put him back in his cell. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. What about your supervisor? Did you guys have any analysis post game or further discussion about what you had talked about previously?
Keeping it clean. I told her she was a balloon. After.
A balloon.
You know, I basically told her that she should have got more male staff. However, at the point when he started kicking off, I asked her why she didn't press an alarm bell. She refused to answer. She said something about me being a chauvinist again or something like that. And I actually ended up in front of one of the prisoner governors asking about my conduct during the incident and how I behaved towards her. I was chauvinistic and demeaning towards her. You know.
Did you get a chance to explain what actually happened?
I said what happened. I said that she was advised to get more male officers. The whole thing, it was of no consequence.
Yeah. You guys were just kind of going through the motions, it sounds like.
She was a rising star, Addy. Being a private company as well, they were promoting her. What I mean by that is she was sort of a high-profile person. Look, we've got this person here who's an Oscar one. Yeah. So it was a no-brainer, mate. You do find that.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why the prison service, to some extent, is in so much trouble now, because a lot of people are over-promoted.
Yeah, the politics.
At Strangeways, what I saw in March 2015, just briefly again, you have a prison officer, then a senior officer, they're a wing manager, so every wing will have a senior officer on shift with you. And then you have a principal officer, which is one above a senior officer. They might be an overall wing manager, not there every day. And they sometimes do that Oscar one job, I said, which is the shift manager.
Yeah, that's like the captain, right? Or the colonel.
Correct.
Yeah.
But not all the way to the top.
Right.
So in March 2015 at Strangeways, when suddenly it became chaotic, not enough staff, it needed good management, then most of the POs were found wanting. If you go back, when the ship was running well, you didn't need them. Officers know what they're doing. They don't need anyone else. Prison officers could run a jail, take all the managers out. Prison officers, landing staff could run the jail.
I think you could say that for a lot of institutions, can you, Sam? Just remove the administration who is making all the money and just leave, I don't know, take the education system, leave the teachers. I mean, they would be fine. The janitors, everybody, they'd be fine without the administration.
Definitely. You know what you're doing, don't you? Most people just get on with their job. I found them really wanting, and you know what a lot of them did was remove themselves from the landings where all the trouble was, and they just sit in the centre office You know, 5 or 6 of them looking for a member of staff to send to a wing. So I
Oh
got
my
no time
goodness.
for that, mate.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, you see that type of behavior in every workplace, right? Even the politics, right? The over promoting, you see it everywhere. But it just, you would think that a line would be drawn at guarding the most dangerous members of society, and that's another thing that this pandemic, I think, is making people realize is a lot of the political nonsense that's been going on. When push comes
Correct.
to shove, excuse me, and there's people dying and people bleeding, whether it's prison or outside,
Yep.
the job has to go to the person who's most qualified.
Bang, nail on the head there, mate. So if we just briefly talk about the prisons, which is relating to the COVID update as well.
Of
So the
course.
government's looking at releasing. They've already. I told you last time they've already released some women with kids from the baby units and pregnant women, which is great. They're looking to release some low risk prisoners, which is great. You know, get as many out the door, less pressure on staff. To be fair, to make it safe for the families of them people, if they're going home, they probably need testing. You know, you don't want
Yeah.
someone coming from Strangeways going home to the missus and 2 kids and taking the virus to them, do you?
Yeah, it could just make things worse.
A lot of people are getting upset because there's some prisoners who maybe have less than 6 months to do, but have done long sentences, who might be more at risk, might be violent prisoners in the past or committed violent crimes. What those people don't understand is, I understand what they're saying. If your loved one's got 3 months to go, why not release them now? But low risk prisoners don't require the same amount of monitoring, and they don't need the same things in place, safeguards for the public, as your higher risk prisoners. So you can let them go without much risk. The other prisoners, it's not just a case of signing them off. If someone's been an armed robber or any sort of violent type crime, you just can't let them go. There's rules and regs. They're supposed to be monitored. It's where they go. You might want them in a bail hostel. Although I don't agree with hostels, you might want to send them to a hostel 3 months so they can be monitored daily. Well, you don't really want to be sending anyone to hostel. Again, the virus might be in the hostel, or they might take it there.
Yeah.
But also, it'll put a lot of stress on your probation and everything else, which is already overwhelmed. The justice system itself is completely overwhelmed. So I understand what they're saying. I understand why they're getting upset. Let my partner go, but they need them safeguards. The low risk prisoners don't need the same safeguarding and monitoring as your higher risk prisoners.
That makes sense. And thanks for
But
that
they are letting some
clarification,
go,
Sam.
so that's all good.
Yeah. And
So you,
I just wanted to clarify, we mentioned this last time, but just in case we have any new viewers, a hostel in England is the same as a halfway house in the
correct.
United States.
Yeah, we discussed this.
Yep.
It's preferable for me that anyone who is released short term, long term from prison, if they've got a home to go to, the parents' home, a best mate even, they've got more chance of staying out and not breaching the conditions if they're with the family rather than being put in a halfway house. However, for some reason that doesn't happen. So, I'm not in a position to do that. What I am hoping, after this virus has done its time, they look at the IPP prisoners. They need to have a look now. They need to draw a line under it, give them a short license, and mark them off as time served. Because everybody leaving prison has a certain amount of risk. So the IPP prisoners, some who low-level crime they committed, are no more risk than anyone else. So give them a license, get them out of jail. That's about 4,000 prisoners. They've done the time, they're way over tariff, get them out.
I agree. And that is a huge point that we, I think, have been making with regards to Pepsi Watson, well, just speaking for myself, he's also an IPP prisoner on recall, and it makes complete sense for those low level crimes, especially in the IPP tariff, to be recalled.
Yeah, get them out. I mean, it's not going to happen, so I'm hoping they review things. What they need to look at with prisons seriously, and a lot of people, we've discussed this as well, are missing that without staff, without stable staff, without enough staff, then it doesn't matter what you reform. Some people want to reform the education in prison. Some want to reform this. Some want to alter the conditions. Whatever. It don't matter. If you haven't got staff, you can't do anything. You can put all sorts in place. Without staff, it's not going to work. It's not going to run. So you need to come up with a strategy for recruiting people, keeping people, and then you can start looking at other things.
It seems that paying prison officers would be, I think, the most bang for your buck in this situation.
I don't believe that's going to happen. They have in this country what is supposed to be neutral, a pay review body. Now, if I was neutral and I'm reviewing a job, I'd look at the prison officer's job and think, geez, they need to be somewhere near the top of the scale. However, year after year, this pay review body come back and say, no, they're not worth a dime or a cent. Give them 0.5% or something like that. Wrong. Terms and conditions, maybe, but certainly when I was in the private sector, I enjoyed it. The money, not so much, was an issue because you can always work overtime. You can earn extra money. However, if they up the money again to something, they might get, some of these older people who've got established families and mortgages looking and thinking, I'll have a go at that. So maybe that's something. On the virus front, Ade, my friend's mum is old, really old. She's in her 80s. She's quite unwell. So the home phoned him the other day. The home where she is on lockdown. He can't visit her. They've been trying to do visits, over the phone, FaceTime, that sort of thing. So the manager at the home says they'd phoned paramedics, an ambulance had come. So the ambulance saw her and said, yeah, she could do with going in hospital. However, they believed if they took her to hospital, she would get the virus and die.
Yeah.
So the home now, whoever had to make that decision, is that an awful decision, are managing her best they can in the home.
Yeah.
Some of these old people, when this virus gets in these homes, aren't going to be going to hospital. They've had one already, I believe, in this country where 30% of the residents have been infected and died because of the age and the vulnerable. Yeah. So I think there's 500,000 people in old people's homes in this country at least. And maybe another 1.5 million, 2 million managed in the community. May live alone, no relatives, just see a carer every day, get them up, get the meals or whatever. So that situation, I don't even want to think about it. I think it's horrendous. It's quite heartbreaking.
Yeah, those were the first deaths in the state that I'm currently in right now. In Oregon was a home. It was a nursing home the virus got into. But fortunately, there's only been 22 deaths, I think, despite the fact that we're so close to Seattle. It's right to our north. So that's good. I think that has more to do with the fact that we're not a huge transportation hub than people's efforts to take precautions, because I do think that those efforts aren't as good as they could be. But what about other aspects of where you guys are right now? And because you're in Yorkshire, in England, and I've heard a lot of people that I know in England are really on edge right now with everything that's going on.
It's terrible. I can feel it. I've been thinking about this. So I took the dog today. I'm lucky me. 10 minutes from our house, there's an old pit, an old coal mine site. So I went up on the tops. There's a bench. So I sat up there about 2 hours. I can see it in some of my friends. They are myself. I'm not worried for myself. I'm worried for my family and friends. Some of my friends, they're obviously concerned for their loved ones. But I tell you what, Ade, and there's going to be a big consequence of this lockdown. We've already talked about dysfunctional families, domestic violence and things like that, and poor kids in that situation. That's going to be out of control. But I also think, in fact, millions of people are going to suffer with a mental health.
Yeah, it does seem to be
you can see the stress, anxiety,
second order effect. Yeah,
it is. It's awful. It's almost like you're living your life waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, and for just speaking for myself, I am somewhat of an indoor cat a lot of the times anyway, so it's not a huge effect for me, but I'm also not in a hotspot either, so that's something to be to take into consideration, because I can go and basically do, other than the fact that we can't work right now, I can go and basically do everything else that I normally could do. But that's not to say it would be unethical to do that, because I do think that would be putting other people unnecessarily at risk.
Yeah, well, you're looking about here, it's definitely quieting down. And the missus, when she goes to work, there's no traffic on roads.
Wow.
So I think people, I look on my own road, the cars have been parked in the same place pretty much for a week and a half now. No one's using the cars, no one's going anywhere. I think everyone's shopping to a minimum. So people are taking it more serious. Again, I'm not for these people who are grandstanding, almost hateful. You obviously know our Prime Minister is in hospital, don't you?
Yeah, Boris Johnson's sick.
You look on Twitter, some of the people, what are they on? I hope he dies and things like that. People need to lose the hate, don't they?
Yeah, I think, he's not my leader of my nation, so I don't have the strongest feelings about him one way or another. But I have seen, obviously we hope anyone who does get sick gets better and recovers their health. But I've seen a couple different views from two people who I follow. And one was, if he's sick, he shouldn't be leading because he's too sick to do so. And the other one was, he's sick and he's on TV, so despite the fact he's sick, he's showing that he cares for this country and he's trying to lead it. And I think both are valid. But it's definitely confuses the situation when your leader is sick as well.
Well, it also makes it quite real as well.
Yeah. And I saw the governor of New York's brother got it too, I think. Cuomo's brother. I don't know if it's his younger brother or his older brother. But as far as I know, he's okay. But yeah, it does show that it is real. I was talking, and anybody who wants to check it out can. I did a roundtable with some scientists from all over the states and the world. There's a guy who actually, he's from England, and he is living in Japan right now. But we're talking about this virus and going into it and basically exploring this, not only the science behind it, but the geopolitical effects too. So if anybody wants to check that out, I will put it in the description box below. And we are reconvening this weekend as well, if anybody wants to check that out on Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. But I did talk to a Scotland Yard detective last week, Sam, who I have interviewed before, and he's quite concerned about the government taking advantage of this, that in such a way that it would negatively affect the layman or laywoman.
How?
I guess their concern, or his concern, excuse me, is an erosion of civil liberties.
Okay, so yeah, I've seen a little bit about that. The sort of imposing fines on people and restriction of movement and things like that. Civil liberties, you're never going to win, are you? Because if you've got 100 people, yeah, like myself being at one end and whoever at the other, and you'll have every view in between. There's people who are not happy about CCTV cameras being everywhere, and various other things like face recognition's a big one in the UK at the minute. One of the biggest arguments is it's not accurate, and why would you want to use it? Now, if you step back, I can see if it works and it works well. If you are looking for a criminal, and that technology is there and it'll help you find them, then I don't see a problem. I think people are worried that they're watching everyone, or do you know what I mean? I have not. I don't think I get on with my own life. You know, I'm not committing crime or anything like that. If I get stopped by the police, I get stopped. I've got nothing to worry about. If they put my DNA on a database, like a criminal database, I would not be concerned, because I've never done anything wrong or bad or anything like that. However, there's people like myself who wouldn't be concerned, who would still be massively against that, because they'd say, it's against your civil liberties. So I would never get into an argument with anyone about that. It's a no-brainer. It's same as politics. But the negativity side of it, you've still got our BBC. The reporting of it and that, for me, is horrendous. You've got Sky. Yeah. You've got Sky as well. It's all negative. You need some positive stuff out there. For me, the media, I hope people just turn away. Do away with it. I mean, they call it mainstream media. Look at YouTube now. Some of the channels on it that I'd rather watch them.
They're getting more views, and they have been getting more views for some time now. I mean, Joe Rogan gets
millions.
At least 1 million of views on one show. CNN or Fox, they get like maybe 500,000 on a good night, from what I've read.
Listen, there's a lot of these smaller YouTubers that are getting far more views than CNN and that. So, well, one day you want to hear the truth, don't you? You want to hear neutral. You don't want people who are like making news political or whatever, like they appear to MSNBC or CNN or whatever in America.
Yeah.
Which is why the ratings are dropping. What you want is accurate reporting. You'd like some positivity, and you'd like them. It's a situation no one's been in before. So if you look at Boris Johnson, whether you like him or not, no one's ever been in that situation, have they? So obviously, you're going to try and do the best for the country. So
yeah, definitely. And yeah, it is a stressful time, and I think that's definitely playing into it as well, because people are anxious and somewhat fearful. So yeah, that's partly why you're seeing all these kind of crazy takes on Twitter and Facebook and stuff. But I mean, as far as tracking people, they don't even have the resources to track everyone at once, do they?
No, I don't believe so.
There's too many people. But is there anything you wanted to wrap up with, Sam, before we just end for this show today, Across the Pond?
No. Well, what day are we on? I don't even know what day we are.
Today is Monday, actually. Right. Monday, April 6th. And we were going to have a show yesterday, but we both followed the Bible and rested on the 7th day. At least I did. I slept for so long yesterday, Sam. It was ridiculous. I slept for like 13 hours, I think. And it was not
maybe you needed it.
Yeah, I think I did. I think I did. Can I see your t-shirt, Sam? What does that say? It says,
do you really want to see that?
Yeah.
With a body like this, who needs hair?
I love it. I love it.
I think my missus's mum bought it me one Christmas. So
yeah,
she likes to buy me a comedy t-shirt now and again.
That's great. That's awesome. Good old mother-in-law buying some cheeky t-shirts. Well, do you want to talk again this week, Sam? Maybe tomorrow or Wednesday?
Maybe Wednesday, eh? Give it a couple of days, see how things are
Definitely.
going.
Yeah,
Have a
and
look at the prison. I can update on the prison situation then. Like I say,
of course,
you're doing the right thing. It's just it's difficult because there's a lot going on. You know, obviously, if you've got a loved one in prison, you're concerned about prison, but people will be concerned about care, and people will be concerned about this and that.
Yeah,
I tell
it's
you,
a multi-variable
what we will wrap up
situation.
with.
Yeah,
Um, one of my relatives and a very close friend's wife. It's got very real for them. They're both on leave at the minute, you know, from the job as nurses. They've both had phone calls at home and both been told when they go back to work this week, they're going on to working with the people who are really seriously ill from the virus. They're going on to the intensive care units, both of them, for 2 months. So that's
the front
whatever
line.
job you were doing as a nurse, you get a phone call at home and somebody says, right, bam, you're straight on the front line for 8 weeks. That must be terrifying, that.
Yeah, and we do send our thoughts out in feelings of good warmth and gratitude towards those nurses and doctors who don't have a choice and are on the front lines and do get called to fight this pandemic right in the midst of it. So we are in debt and thankful to those people. This is Across the Pond. Sam Samworth, prison guard, HMP Strangeways. I will put Sam's link to his Twitter in the description box, as well as the link to his book via Goodreads and Amazon, as well as Waterstones, so you can purchase it and check out the reviews as well on Goodreads. Sam Samworth, thank you so much for chatting with me today, and let's convene on Wednesday.
Catch you soon, dude. Take it easy.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.